Hi everyone. I'm Regina, and you are you. Oh dear, we all kind of like fuzzy there. Um, Gosh darn, here we are. It's Sunday for our special edition of Conversations with Regina. Welcome, and let's get on with this. So let's do a little business first, and let me pull up the banners. And oh dear, excuse me. And I forgot to get me a fresh supply of cough drops. So anyway, here we go. Be sure and like this program. Subscribe and ring the bell. Stay notified. Hit that like button over and over on, and everything will be wonderful. But you know, we do things spur of the moment sometimes, like have Sunday broadcasts or put things up that are uploaded. I figured the easiest way to get this show in today was to do a drop broadcast like this, instead of trying to do a bunch of editing and you guys not have a chance to ask questions and whatnot. So that's my deal. If you are watching this videotape, be sure and leave a comment and leave a like. And so then this is all brought to you by Ray's Rose Coffee, which is a company that I own. You know, this morning I'm drinking a Costa Rica Marsellesa honey, and it's really a super grand coffee. One of the favorites of mine that I have now. I do it a medium roast, and it brings, you know, enough of those fruity flavors and still yet a good solid cup of coffee with the chocolates and excuse me. Oh dear. Not a good start there, but anyway, let's check out our guest. So, maybe I should check to see who's here first. We got Heidi. Hi, Heidi, and Casey and Christy, our moderators, and Sarah. Darn, I'm gonna bring Bethany in right now so I can like turn my back and cough here for a second. And so I will let her introduce herself. That this is Bethany Beeler, the author, artist, and advocate for trans rights, and activist is the word I was really looking for. And I'm going to let you talk for a minute and just get the heck out of your way so I can go cough.
You go cough, Regina. Okay. That's no problem. The coughing spells don't know any particularly appropriate time. Hi, I'm Bethany Beeler. I'm me. I'm an author. I am an artist. You might know me if you've read my book, How to Not Know You're Trans, which really picks up the narrative of how can you not know until you're in your 50s that you are trans or non-binary? How could you go so long without that, without knowing that? I try to make it humorous. It is a memoir. It also explores all sorts of issues of trans rights, neuroscience, and all sorts of things that contribute to understanding that you are who you are. And as my daughter says, you do you, boo. And coming out June the 3rd will be the follow-up to that memoir. It is my book, Trans Quality: how trans experience affirms the world. And I really mean that. Um, and by the way, that's one of my paintings on the front, another one on the back. Uh, if you don't want to just watch me prattle on, you can just go to BethanyBeeler.com while I'm talking and you can see more about it, or to my Amazon page. Just look me up on Amazon. My name, Bethany A. Beeler, and you'll have me there. But the premise behind trans quality is the idea that my lens drop of experience as a trans person is a lens also whereby all of us, trans, non binary, cis, human beings, can have a greater access to the joys of living and reality. So it is creative nonfiction, it involves more memoir, um, but it also explores all sorts of areas: movies, books, music, um, trans issues, politics, religion, and showing how trans quality experiencing things the way that a trans person does affirms not only trans folk, but everyone. So it's a very positive book, but not with a rose colored set of glasses. It's very frank with um, the realities, the harsh realities that trans and non-binary people face, as well as all letters in LGBTQIA plus community, and women, some of the horrors of the patriarchy. So, Regina, is that a good summary? How'd I do,
Yeah,
girl?
that's great. I was just kind of going to let you run with this and stay out of the conversation, but here I am. And no, that was wonderful. So that is kind of the same kind of stuff that we deal with here on this channel a lot, I think. The harsh reality sometimes of just being who we are and trying to fit in into the world in a positive note. And there's no reason to not be positive, in my opinion. You know, positivity will get us a lot further than the negativity will. You know, and you know, you also write on Medium a lot, and so I take issue with a lot of the trans authors on there because they are so negative, and it gets difficult for me to go in there. I don't know. Maybe it's just this little microcosm that I live in where the acceptance is so much, you know. I mean, not everybody's my best friend here, but
And we're in just, all of us are in different phases or different points of our journey as human beings. And there are folks who are reading who are brand new. They're just awakening to a possibility that they hadn't thought of. And they may be doing that while they're very young. They may be parents of those very young souls doing that. They may be people who, like me in my 50s, didn't know until I had this incredible dream one night that just led to a lot of things. So, in order to speak to everybody, one, you can't try to appeal to everybody. But second, how do you remain positive? How do you draw people with honey and not vinegar? And what I found is that you have to do it from authenticity, from who you are. Never apologize for that. Also acknowledging that it is unique, unrepeatable, irreplaceable, unreplicatable, and make no bones about it. But you're also not trying to stand up and then represent every trans person. I think C.S. Lewis said it really, really well when he was talking about religions. He made the curious statement, and it raised the hackles of a lot of so-called Christians too, when he said, the people who are at the center of their faiths, Christian, Muslim, Jew, nudist, Buddhist, whatever, are actually closer to people of other faiths. And what he meant by that was they're authentically living out what Robert Pirsig in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance says is quality. The event that is reality itself, that can't be defined, that can't be squared up in a paragraph or a book. It has to be lived. And that's the point of trans quality, is owning it.
So
and wherever you are on the journey, you're owning it right now. Okay, I'll shut up.
okay, so essentially what trans quality is, what you're equating trans quality to, is love everybody.
Especially yourself. Number one, you have no capacity to love the world, love quality as it comes to you, if you cannot trust, love, and hold in reverence the one who is the unique receiver and imparter of the tiny reality.
Well, I agree with that to a point, but I think sometimes that if we can't love ourselves and we start living a life of love, everybody,
Mhm.
one follows the other, and so there's hope. If you just, it's like and in one of Ram Dass's books or someplace, I heard this story about how, the Maharaji told him to love everybody and tell the truth. And so he went out there and said that he was loving everybody. But the truth of it is he didn't love everybody. And so he had to start talking about that truth as well and try and eventually it all came into place. And I think that's just love, isn't it?
It certainly is. I don't mean to make a broken record with C.S. Lewis, because there are a lot of things of his that I think he was short-sighted on, obviously. But in terms of writing, he is one of the most vibrant, pithy minds to have come in human history. He one time said, "Oh, so you want to love your neighbor? Try it for a while. You're going to find it difficult. So the best place to start is to act like it." He wasn't saying put on a false image. He was saying act like you do, because, hey, folks, you're going to meet buttholes, right? I might be that butthole. You may catch me at the worst moment. Don't you think I'm aware of that I'm a butthole and there's things about me that I have to act like I like? Oh, hell's yes. Hell's to the yes.
Well, there's a saying that we have in recovery that you can act your way into a new way of thinking, but you can't think your way into a new way of acting. And it's just really, really simple. So we have to go through the motions to be able to get there. And trust me, a lot of those things that they told me in those rooms of recovery, I didn't just like overnight fall into. It took me years to understand gratitude and the things that came up from that. And now I basically live in gratitude. I'm just thankful for all the gifts that I have. And this is what life is about. And by that, the rest of the world opened up to me. And so when I, with this last administration, I got into another thought pattern of I had to shut up. and I started talking about if you're calling names, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. If you think that the conservatives are SOBs and talking crap, trash talking, you're part of the problem. I don't have to like that administration, but I do have to open my heart to them. And so, as distasteful as that might be, it's still a necessity for myself. What the rest of you do is your business. But for me, I had to do that. And that even kind of changed my life to a certain extent. So you're just brimming with something to say.
And all right, folks, you need to understand, I still haven't gotten a copy to Regina of Transquality, so she didn't read it. But I know I've touched a vein, I've stepped into a stream that others share, because in her own words here, she's talking the same kind of thing. Look, I'm not saying that it's easy to go out and love those who are persecuting us. That isn't a warm, gooey feeling there. It's more like, you dirty, rotten sons of bleeps. And, but you do need to do what the Maharaja does in Ram Dass's story, which is you need to own you, and you need to own everyone else around you to the extent that it doesn't warp you. And that was my big problem until I was in my 50s. I had no idea that I wasn't the male that I was assigned at birth. And I lived it heroically. But all the time, folks, I was miserable and didn't know why. There was a brooding, simmering anger. And I was spared the perils of various addictions to numb that pain. But I still suffered from terminal assholism, as I call it. Ask my spouse, ask Pam, who's been with me now like 38 years. Yeah, she'll say, Bethany is a much nicer person to live with. And Regina, have you ever heard the term woodworking? Like in relation to the trans community?
Heard the term what? You broke up right there.
Sure, the term woodworking as it relates to the trans community and trans experience.
Actually, I haven't. So
okay,
you tell.
It's it may be becoming archaic. It is especially a term that was used by pioneers before the so-called 2014 tipping point of trans acceptance. The idea behind woodworking is, at a certain point, you just want to be you, and you want to, I don't want to say fade, but blend in with the woodwork. Okay. And there are a number of trans persons out there who very much live in the woodwork. They're not cowards. They're just being themselves. Now it's harder to do that, especially when you've got a voice like mine, and the ravages of testosterone poisoning. Puberty was hell for me, Regina. Oh my God. And I recount that in How to Not Know You're Trans and Trans Quality, as well as in my novels. But, for me, woodworking doesn't mean forgetting that I'm trans. It means walking down the street and liking the reflection I see in the store windows, walking it proudly, being who I am. And for me, for Bethany Beeler, it means also calling out BS, whether it's coming from TERFs, religious conservatives, bigots of all stripes, harmful, deadly policies that would eradicate us. For me, part of the woodworking is saying, I don't care who you are, trans, non-binary, cis, nudist, Buddhist, like I said before, you've got to speak out. You got to speak out for the rights of everyone, even including those who are trying to strangle your rights. Does that, I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense because we can't take away, to make us whole, you can't take away from somebody else. They have a right to everything as well. If we want healthcare, I want healthcare for everyone. I don't care. I want education for everyone. I don't care if you're conservative or liberal. I do not want the world to be filled with people like me. I want diversity.
Yeah.
I don't
use
want
it for a few more people like you, though.
Well, be that as it may. I would think if I was in a room full of me, that we would be bored to tears, and so I love everybody because they're unique. Each person is a unique person. What we need is to just get rid of those freaking label lines, destroy the labels, and everybody's equal, and let the chips fall where they will. We got equal pay. We don't have a patriarchy. We got education as far as somebody wants to take it. We've got healthcare as far as somebody wants to take it. It's all cheaper than what we're paying for healthcare now. So our taxes go up $100. Our monthly bill for healthcare drops about $900. So, why not? What is the problem with healthcare? Why can't we just see eye to eye? Why can't we start agreeing on stuff and working together to get it? And we need to start in our own community.
Most definitely. And there's something you said when we would have equality. There are those who want to paint that as a kind of something that would be abhorrent to Ayn Rand objectivists. It's just this bland thing. And that's not the case. What is meant by equality, I think, is equal access from wherever you're coming, that everyone is equal in their opportunity to you do you, boo. The way I do that is as unique as me. The way I receive others and the experience of quality, reality itself, is unique and precious. It's irreplaceable. That's human dignity. But people want to feel they're in control, and even in writing, say, the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson meant white males. All men are created equal. And if you're a strict interpretationalist and you've benefited from such a hegemony set up by that, well, of course, you're going to begin to start saying, well, there's quantity of votes, but really quantity matters. I mean, quality matters of votes. What? That's nonsense. You don't have to protect anything. I don't have to protect my transness, right? Do I have to protect myself from violence, from assaults, from denigration as a person? Yeah, but guess what? So do all of us. Some of us are very privileged to suffer it less than others. For instance, I'm post-op. My access to healthcare as a white person, it was enabled me to do those things. Whereas the trans persons of color, who can speak for themselves, quite obviously, who have been slaughtered year after year, the recorded ones in numbers of 40, 50 people a year, just the ones recorded. And they're invariably 99% persons of color. They don't have access to health care. They are often forced to engage in sex work because they're not given equal access to employment, to be who they are in a workplace the way that a white cis male, for instance,
Right.
is able to be. No one's trying to put the bottom rail up on the top, as Flannery O'Connor once said. That's not it. It's not, I have to tear down white males or white people in general in order to have something. It's just simply open the door. Let me in. Let me out. Let me be who I am. How does it hurt you that I'm gloriously Bethany?
Right on. Right on.
Here endeth the sermon.
Hey, let's check out the chat room for a minute. I see Casey's got stuff going on and they're saying nice things about you. So, like, and so she's saying that it's going to be a great follow-up. Here's Casey's going on, especially in things like media.
Right, Casey. Most definitely.
And what?
Hey, that book, Christy, Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, was foundational in opening my mind. It was necessary spade work. I say in Trans Quality, I know I quote Zen, the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, lots of times. I didn't know why I was reading it. I didn't know what it was doing. Now, I don't want people going out there saying, it'll make you change if you read this here, Zen in the motor. No, I don't think Robert Pirsig, the late Robert Pirsig, would know what the hell to do with me. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. It still didn't stop me from pointing out that he had something there that's always been there. It just, it's what Richard Rohr calls the Minority Report, and Philip K. Dick, that there is always in history a minority report that continues to be suppressed, but it will not be kept down, and it rises out. And that minority report informs and vivifies, renews the culture. And then it gets co-opted and gets stale and has to resurrect things again. And what we're seeing right now with a lot of the hatred and legislation directed against trans people, a tiny minority. The largest estimate I've seen is 1.6% of the population so far that we know of. The funny thing about it is this legislation shows the battle's over in that regard. Because just a few years ago, there wouldn't have been any need for any legislature in a Bible Belt state to promote such legislation. We weren't even acknowledged as existing.
Right. Well, that was like the article that I glanced through this morning. It was from the UK, but it was talking about there's like one of us for every 1,000 women. So 30 million women makes 30,000, trans women. So how the hell are we going to eradicate 30 million women just because we get let into their space. It was based upon some turf thing that's going down in the UK. And it just doesn't make any sense. It's like the kids competing in athletics in high school. Oh, there's going to be so many trans kids that are going to try and make the team. Most of us don't care anything about sports. And so what if we do? Is it worth othering that child to raise their potential for suicide, raise their potential for running away from home, raise their potential for drug addiction and alcoholism, raise their potential for being sex workers, raise their potential for being murder victims? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I ask. Where is our compassion? Is it worth it to other these kids and not let them be part of something? Is it worth it?
No, and it's an excuse. It's an excuse to rally voter bases around issues that will get them to send in money. But it is a losing cause. We've seen it again and again. No, the battle is not over. No, I am not being self-satisfied. We have to be who we are, as we are. We have to continue doing that. But at the same time, the signs are all there that we've gone beyond simple resistance, underground resistance, to being voices that are now being heard. People want to hear our stories.
Exactly.
Not because they're, quote, trans, but because they're human beings. I want to know what makes someone else tick, because someone else is an occasion of joy and an opportunity for me. Are there some people that do their damnedest to be an occasion of violence, hatred, sadness? Yeah, but I don't think they wake up to do that. Well, terminal asshole. I got that from Andrew Greeley, the late Catholic priest, book novelist, who actually wrote some amazing sociological things. That was his real passion. But he had a character in the book who admitted to suffering from terminal assholism.
Okay, here's Casey on exactly, Bethany. There's something that I've been saying. Many people have disagreed with me, but that's how I see it. I've said that I may not like what those people did, but I still have to. Oh dear, that didn't all get up there.
It's getting there.
But I think
she's.
Oh, I see what there. Show them love as human beings. It's a basic necessity that everyone deserves, regardless of their thoughts or action. Because as soon as I start to think like them, I'm no better than they are. Very good, Casey. You just get better every day, Casey.
Well, one of the things, this reminds me, it's a theme that I bring up more prominently in How to Not Know You're Trans, but it also, by necessity, comes up in trans quality, tribalism. While I was blessed, privileged not to fall into some of the things that at-risk groups fall into in terms of oppression, and I didn't become susceptible to addictions. I did actually have an addiction, and that was defining myself in terms of a tribe. I had to join a tribe. I had to feel like I was out tribing the tribe. Tribalism is part and parcel with the human experience. And I guarantee you that one day, and we see it happen already in some trans chat rooms and things like that, folks are already delineating who's in and who's out. was it Peter Gabriel says in his song "Not One of Us" that how can we tell who's inside if we can't say who's out?
Right.
We will vest our own identities into that of a tribe because there's safety in numbers. And we judge ourselves by the degree to which we are accepted and lauded by those in whose tribe we think we are.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it's not something that I'm saying trans people can avoid. We're not going to avoid it. There will come a time where, sadly, some of us will turn upon the next group of people who are struggling for freedom, acceptance, and love. It's
Well,
sad, but I
yeah,
would
yeah.
anticipate it. I don't want to do it, but my God,
Well,
look at
it's like
J.K.
the
Rowling. Look at Rowling.
LGB
Jesus, how
group.
could she? Yeah, how could Rowling write about muggles and mudbloods and wizards and draw characters like Dolores Umbridge, but then become Dolores Umbridge and do it with a straight face saying, I'm fighting for my peeps. It's like, I see where Dolores Umbridge comes from, why she's such an authentic character, such a good representation of evil.
Oh, that goes back to this one here, in a sense, conform to what's the woodworking topics. And then
And that's what that's what I was trying to, you're right, Christy, in the archaic sense of the word, what it does mean before the tipping point, what it meant was I've succeeded. No one's going to spot me as trans. I have my dream. Screw
right.
the rest of you. And even without the screw the rest of you, why can't we live in a world where people are going to never be post-op because they don't want an operation, or they're not going to get laser hair removal, or they could care effing less to pass, right?
Yeah.
How they would work. We would work best in a society where we've spread out the grain to include everybody and the patterns and uniqueness they bring to that grain, as opposed to hiding in the grain and saying, nope, I'm here, I'm content with just a flat 2x4.
There is a little book, and I think the title of it is Beyond Gender. It's 60 pages long. And the first chapter of that describes this person putting on a purple dress, combing their beard, and getting on the trolley car and talking about what it made them feel like, the way people, what and I trust me, I struggle with this, the non-binary beards, dresses, I struggle with, and I I don't know where to go, but as I read through that book, my heart leapt out, and I was like, it doesn't matter what the hell I think, these are folks too, and so why can't they just be, and I expect everybody to let me be. My voice isn't very passable. Heck, why can't we just be humans? That's all. That's all I want.
It's really well told in Jacob Tobiah's Sissy, a coming of gender story is the name of it. And Jacob Tobiah is one of the most prominent, vibrant, winsome voices for non-binary. He is, they are, she is, because I cannot remember right now what Jacob's pronouns are. My wife will shout it in maybe in a moment. I think their pronouns are they, but I'm going to go with that. Um, they do an amazing job of breaking down those stereotypes. Jacob Tobiah will sport a full beard, and let me tell you what, they will wear some clothing that I would die for. Me, I feel comfortable in a feminine presentation. That doesn't mean I'm trying to define for others what a trans person is or what a woman should be. My wife is her own woman and dresses very differently from me and presents a different look. But my God, I love her as she is. I feel so good walking in a nice dress with my eyebrows, which I'm beginning to notice aren't too right today. And my hair looking, I like to look in the mirror and say, I look fabulous.
Yeah.
To hell with what any conclusions anyone else draws. But that's not therein saying to someone else, okay, this is the straight jacket that I believe all trans people should fit into. Pardon my language, Regina, but fuck that. Fuck that.
No, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. I'm not to dictate. I'm not the dictator. I don't. Everything that happens beyond the end of this nose is none of my business. How you dress and how I dress, never you dress, you be you, I'll be Regina. And that's as simple as it gets. So, and if we're going to walk the walk, if we're going to walk the talk, we've got to let those people be. That we don't necessarily understand. What I need to do is seek understanding. And so if anybody knows any not NBs that want to be on my show, give me a holler, have them contact me, PM me. I'd love that. I would love that.
Yeah. And it echoes what you had said earlier. And to some degree, in order to love ourselves, we have to be willing to grant the benefit of the doubt to those around us. That doesn't mean pulling a punch when they're out and out coming straight at you. Let me give an example. I have a circle of friends here in Loveland, Colorado, and there's a place where we meet probably once a week at least, right here in my apartment building. It's called the Laureate Public House. Love the place. We love our friends. There's a guy who's in our group who he's quite nearly incel. And for those of you who don't know what incel is short for, it's incelibates, a group of men. The stereotype of them is living in their mom's basement, kind of comic book guy from The Simpsons, insisting that women have made them forcibly celibate. They are involuntarily celibate. Okay, this guy isn't quite there yet, but he is divorced. His wife has poisoned his daughter's mind to him. At least that's what he says, and I'm going with it because I love him. I joke with him. I have a great time with him. But every now and then, he tries to bait me. And so we got talking about restrooms. And it's like, but don't you think, talking to me like I didn't know this, don't you think that there's someone out there who would take advantage of this ability of trans people to use the restrooms for the gender they identify with? To rape women, blah blah. I'm looking after my daughters. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to say his name. I'll call his name Joe. Hey Joe, Look, you're not asking a question. You're making a statement, number one, okay, in the form of a rhetorical question. Number two, okay, I'm calling bullshit because the fact of the matter is, dudes have never needed to go in drag or go into a restroom to rape women. They do it behind dumpsters on the Stanford campus. They do it right out in the open as the spoils of war. Damn.
Oh, fuck
So
it.
I
Just
called
say anything.
bullshit. Well, I called bullshit on him all over the place. And I wasn't changing his mind. But yet, the game that Joe plays too is to run himself down. He uses a lot of self deprecating humor, and so do I. But in his situation, he's doing it to draw attention to himself because he hasn't developed beyond a 13-year-old in that regard. And I forthrightly said, Joe, stop running yourself down. Not because I'm like, you need to be positive about yourself, but rather, you're not going to hide behind that excuse, dude. You're not going to paint yourself as a lout so you can excuse loutish behavior because you're better than that. I know you are. If you saw me being threatened, I know, Joe. I already know this. You would take that dude out or that person out, and Joe would. Okay? So there is quality there in Joe. And part of being who I am is just to simply not give him a break from celebrating himself and not let him hide behind something that lets him hate himself and others. I've held back. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Casey. I've held back.
So I need to say hi to Marty. Marty showed up. I hope she's still
Yes,
here.
I want to meet Marty.
So good to see you, sweetheart. And who else is so there? Oh, Sarah's here. She filled me full of affirmations this morning. And so I was thinking about affirmations after she built me up this morning. I remember my therapist gave me, she said, take a picture and write all the good things about you and hang it up next to your mirror. And I did that for like 2 years, or until I moved from that house. And it wasn't even a very feminine picture, but it was just really kind of like a cool deal. And so it's nice to hear nice things once in a while, especially when we tell ourselves, talking about self-love. Oh, Casey, and I've got the two greatest moderators. They moderate for me. They moderate for Marty and oh, here's Gracie. Hi, Gracie. Just great, and they're so much a part of the show here on this channel. The other channel has more folks. So yes. And
Regina said amazing things about you, Marty. So I am intrigued and need to meet you.
Well, I am glad you were able to pop in again too, sister of mine. So wonderful. So anyway, somebody keeps putting stuff. Oh, cool. the private chat. Nobody's ever done that before. And so I'm like, oh my God, the private chat. Who could that be? And so, oh my gosh. So we're kind of caught up. Bravo, the moderators. Yay. So wonderful. This is my crew, Bethany. These are my people. And what are we loving?
I think she because I said I'd love to meet her. I'm
Oh,
guessing. I'm
well,
guessing that's what Marty's saying. Yeah.
yeah, must be. I'm posing that as this is at work more for the benefit of the doubt, we will react with less prejudice. Absolutely, I think.
Yes.
I did in regards to this, I've always been kind of an anti-police person. It comes from a long history of protesting the war and being an old hippie and all that kind of stuff. And what was it? I guess it was 2018. We had a new sheriff elected here, and I had the opportunity to have this person come in my coffee shop and do a meet and greet with my patrons. And the idea is to build bridges between my community and the sheriff's department, because I wanted to be assured that I would be safe. And so one of my customers, who was a good friend of the sheriff after he got elected, challenged me to take the Citizens Academy, which was a meeting for 11 weeks with the sheriff's department, and it was limited to 30 people, and this was the last day you could sign up. And so I went over there and I put my name in the hat, and they called me up later that day and said, well, you were the 31st person to apply for our academy, and you're in. So they accepted me in as an extra. And for 11 weeks, I had to sit there and get indoctrinated onto the dangers of being a police officer, and seeing some of the videos and stuff. And it kind of made me change my attitude. But then kneeling on a person's neck wasn't covered. I am appalled by that kind of behavior. I still don't like police officers that well, and I'm
Well,
kind of going back but our locals here are pretty, they all wave at me when I drive by now. And actually one of them, whenever I run into him on the street, gives me a great big hug. So,
they are human beings behind it all. But I think a great parable, when y'all get a free moment, watch the movie Babe. James Cromwell plays the lead in it. It's really a little piglet, or several piglets that play the lead, but it's about a piglet who learns to be a sheepdog, and in the process changes the way sheepdogs work. I used to be a minister, a United Methodist minister, and so did my wife. Many moons ago, I talk about it and not know you're trans. And let's be frank, police officers are trained to be sheepdogs, okay? They are armed with the authority of the current hegemony and the hegemonic mindset, not the majority mindset, but the group hive mind that thinks in terms of its power, okay? And like any human being, me, Regina, anyone here, if we were schooled in that, we would identify with that tribe and justify doing things. Hey, I'm here to tell you, in my very classroom as a high school teacher in a Catholic school, I said, with a kid who later transitioned female to male, years later transitioned, I said with a straight face, transgenders are mutilating themselves. Yeah, people. I said that. I said it in front of impressionable high schoolers. If you're trained to be a sheepdog, you will justify fangs, claws, and tearing at the heels of those you're supposed to protect. All in the name of the one wolf that could come by. And we cannot forget that human beings are malleable. And so it's up to us to stand up and say, I understand your police academy or your citizens academy. I understand that police persons put themselves in harm's way, but no one asked them to sign up for the job, number one. No one asked a hegemony to indoctrinate them in the ways and uses of violent power. And I reserve the right to stand up and say, this is wrong, without demonizing the people who are doing it. It's their actions that have crossed the line between human and demon. Just because that one police officer, and it's not just one, it's there, it's in the system, could kneel on someone till they died.
Yeah.
Is not one bad apple, folks. No, that's not one bad apple. That is a program of depersonalization that rendered them suitable sheepdogs. Why, babe? You'll enjoy the movie. It'll tickle your heart. And when you see how that little piglet eventually gets the sheep to cooperate, and all the sheepdogs are like, what the? You'll be like, why can't we be like this? All right, here ends sermon number 82, Regina. It's your fault you let me loose here. I have no blame.
What? Oh, wait. I will never like police. There have been multiple times that my family has been stopped because the driver was black, driving while black. What the actual fuck? The first time was when I was younger. My mom was driving. The second time was about a year ago. I was driving with my white wife and mixed kids as passengers. Yeah, I can't say I understand because I don't have to live in that. I get what you're saying, Casey, and my heart reaches out, but I don't, I've never had to go through that. And that is just so fucking wrong. It's not even funny.
Well, and Malcolm Gladwell, I just recently read his book, Talking with Strangers. It has good points. It has some other points that I find glibly suspect. I think he, in some ways, maybe is too successful. I don't know. Far be it from me to say that. If I get successful, I'll spout off anything and think it's gold. But he does know that the nature, and he really looks book length at the case of Sandra Bland, which was right in my backyard when I used to live in Texas. And he explores what led to that, and the sea change that occurred in policing that has led to all these incidents. And I'm not going to go into it here. We don't have the time. But it is well worth the read, I think. So,
well, I had this friend back in the 70s. We were both young, and they were a couple years younger than I was, and he was going to the police science thing at one of the local community colleges, and we had always gotten along good, but he kept failing the psychological test to being a police officer, and then one day we were doing something. It was at a barbecue, and he walked up behind me. I mean, he was called Moose. So I'm a big girl, But Moose was much larger than I am. And he walked up behind me and put some hold on me that screwed my back up. And I was in misery the rest of the day. And I was just so mad. And he thought it was funny. And when he let go of me, he said, I just got accepted to be a police officer. I passed my psychological test. And he was just an asshole, the terminal asshole. And that was one of the things that just, and I never spoke to him again. I was pissed because he screwed my back up and
yeah,
just wrong. And anyway, I don't want to get
calls about like calls unto like, and those organizations will call about themselves people of that mindset. So wow, we really branched out there. Hey, let's take it back to Compton Cafeteria. What those sisters did that night made it hugely possible for us to be in this room and broadcasting. And they did it against the police, and they transformed San Francisco. Not all the way, but dang, that was 13 years before Harvey Milk gained prominence.
13 years before what?
Harvey Milk was assassinated.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Compton Cafeteria was 1966, 3 years before Stonewall.
I'm not familiar with the Compton Cafeteria. I don't think.
A policeman came in. It was a lot of, as the parlance went, working girls, trans women who were engaged in sex work because they were not accepted elsewhere. That's in the Tenderloin section of San Francisco, which then was very notorious for police brutality and sex workers. And policemen could walk in, just like you see in the movies, and bully someone. And policeman walked in and bullied this trans woman. She turned around, threw her coffee in his face, and a riot started. And those trans girls beat those police out of there.
Love it. Yeah. Well, that's all coming up. Stonewall celebration, Pride celebration in 2 weeks, about 6th of June. And oh dear. We got
thank you, Christy. Thank you, Christy. Tales of the City, episode 8.
Which one are you looking
at? Christy's 1:05 p.m. comment. She says Tales of the City, episode 8 stands well alone on its own and tells a story related to the Compton riots. So, yeah, girl, I'm writing that down. I could do it on my computer, but I don't want to be that person that messes up the mic with her typing.
Yeah. Don't be that person. Oh my gosh, you sent me another message. Oh, isn't your email address on your
website?
It was your name tag there a second ago. If I could figure out how to
my name tag is my website, BethanyBeeler.com.
Okay.
I put in my email in the comments. It's BethanyABeeler@gmail.com. And Beeler spelled like potato peeler, but with a B as in Bravo. And there's an A in there, BethanyABeeler@gmail.com. But you can find my email and contact me from my website too. Feel free to friend me on Facebook. I have a page, Bethany Beeler. artist and author. I have my own private page, which is open for anyone to see. In fact, back in January in Regina, you might remember there was a kerfuffle in right-wing Catholic circles. I went to a very arch-conservative Catholic university in my younger days, and there was a professor there who very recently totally tore apart our Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Development, who had been Secretary of Health in Pennsylvania and got Pennsylvania through the COVID crisis there. But all the tropes, all the hideous stuff. And this guy is a professor and regularly spouts this bullshit in his classroom. Well, I stumbled upon the post and I wrote an article and I wrote an open letter to the University of Dallas and the bishop, and I knew who to send it to. University of Dallas is a small community. Oh my God. I was the one in right-wing media accused of attacking him and his family and trying to ruin their livelihood. And I'm like, I'm not the one that posted asshole comments.
Yeah.
Unprovoked on my Facebook page. As soon as he had posted them, he wiped them, which should tell you something right away. Well, in very right-wing Catholic media, there were hit pieces done on me, not about my argument, but about me. And they mined my Facebook page for pictures. And I guess they were trying to find the most unflattering ones. And I was like, well, I guess any publicity is good publicity. Hell, these are fabulous pictures. So
I remember seeing your article and reading it. You know,
it was it wasn't nice to go through that, but the perils of having your personal Facebook page open for any to see are that it will be mined and used by those who are trying to rouse their base, which is why they didn't speak to the argument at all. Okay, so be it, but you know, that's just part of being who we are. I never attacked him back. Never did any of that. Just said, is this how the University of Dallas wants to portray itself? And the clear answer given by everyone was, hell yes. And my response was, well, that's why no one's listening to you. And no one's listening to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
That's why you're irrelevant and a footnote in cultural discussions. And that's sad because even the Catholic Church has some really fantastic things to say about charity, social justice.
Did you see this?
Yes, and I'm writing it down right now at Marty Pants.
There you go.
Got it. Thank you, Marty.
And well, we've been like keeping up with the chats here since there's only a few of us here. We've done pretty well. So where do we go now?
Let's see. We talk religion,
and
politics so much as police.
So
I haven't talked about sex. So we could talk about coffee.
To talk about, let's just talk about being human. That's the one that always is good because that's all we are. Everybody has these problems. I have so looked forward to this conversation. This is the most I've looked forward to doing a show in a while, and so I'm just honored to have you here, and it's going just swimmingly well, and so what a marvelous guest you turned out to be, and.
Mommy didn't raise no fools, except maybe my brother.
So, is your brother better with you than mine is?
Yeah, I talk about him in How to Not Know You're Trans and in Trans Quality, because he was 8 years older than me, is 8 years older than me, and he was the one that turned me on to Jim Morrison and the Doors. It was like, as a 4-year-old, it was my beginning entry into quality, uh, as Robert Pirsig defines it. Like, I knew the Doors were good, but I had no way of defining it. So I talk about him, and yes, he was bewildered by my coming out, but not in with animus against me, but rather, I mean, the poor guy. He had known me as how he had known me, um, and but he has since always related to me as who I am, and he calls me sis. Um, and he
Oh,
loves me, and he's always been there for me. But my
wow.
brother is as cis het as you can get. He was just like my dad, a player, but he's got a cream puff heart. And he and his wife, my sister-in-law's biggest concern was for Pam at first. It was just that, where's Pam and all this? Not because they were doing a knee jerk. They were just wondering, what the hell does this do to 3 decades plus marriage? And Pam, of course, chimed in, and yeah. So he's all the way in Northern Virginia. I'm in Colorado. Um, he's my brother, and I love him. He loves me. He's the
Wonderful. Wonderful.
only family I got left other than my kiddos. Now, my youngest son, my older son, then my daughter, who's the middle child, they were like 100%. You know, they are affirming. They love me in their own different ways. Like, my daughter will send both of us Mother's Day gifts. My oldest son totally affirms me, just feels comfortable calling me dad, and I'm totally fine with that. For my daughter, the thrill was like, does this mean I can call you Bethany? Because for years she wanted to call me by my first name, because she was calling my wife Pam from like when she was 12, and I wouldn't allow that. I'm like, yes, yes, you can call me that. She's like, yes, you do you, boo. So she's a hoot, but my youngest, he's arch Catholic, and he's cut us out of his and his wife's and our grandkids' lives.
Wow.
And it hurts. It's been 3.5 years now.
Yeah. Wow. That's too bad.
So we all
I'm sorry.
bear pains of who and what we are, and many of those pains are things we can't control. That
There,
and
everything beyond the end of your nose is,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I
but
can
some of
make
that
someone
is
have a
still
reaction,
inside
right?
here.
Yeah. I can cause someone to have a reaction, but I am not responsible for what they do with that reaction.
Right. Yeah. Well, you have done well. Most of your family is. I mean,
Oh
not
yeah,
all of us have that luxury,
no.
and
Pam is the reason. I'm telling you now, Pam is the reason I'm here. That absolutely. There's no doubt about it. There's no way I can be who I am without her.
well, in your first book, How to Not Know, there was some talk about her struggling with it in the beginning too, wasn't there?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, because oh my God, think about it. If we're together with someone, it's a large part of our identity to think that we know them, and truly, we do know them. So when something like this comes up, bye-bye, Marty. When something like this comes up after 30 plus years, you question the person you're in relationship with, yourself. You question reality. I cannot speak accurately to what Pam went through, but I know this. I knew I had to be there for her, never defending myself, always listening, abiding by whatever decision she would make, then all the way into the future and beyond. And Pam is her own person, and I dare not speak for her other than to say it had a happy ending, and that's not the privileged case for a large number of trans folk. Let's talk about Regina's hat. It is fabulous. Look at that blouse. Show it off, girl.
Woo! I love it.
She's walking down the runway.
Oh, how do I get back in the picture? Isn't that nice?
That is
I love it
cute.
so much. I even put heels on this morning.
Oh.
Oh. I've been telling Marty for 3 days about it. And so there you have it. I came out of it. It came out of the closet this morning. Oh dear. Anyway.
Yeah, when I go to record my books, because I do my own audio books, and I have a duct tape studio, as it were, in my walk-in closet. I tell Pam, okay, going back in the closet again, maybe to record.
Oh gosh. You know, we live a tough life. A tough life. You know, how blessed. You know, you were a minister, and I think that transitioning has been the biggest boon to my spirituality ever. You know, because I've had that opportunity to live as a male. I've had the opportunity to live as a female. I feel extremely blessed to have had the opportunity to live this life. And I was wondering, are spiritual in your youth as you went to a ministry school and whatnot than I was like au contraire, you know, religion. Bah! I had never had much religious upbringing, and I'm not religious now. I don't claim to be Christian, and I don't, you know, the only Christian part about me is the fact that I was raised in a Judeo-Christian culture. And so what do you talk a little bit about that, if you would?
Yeah. You know, how to not know you're trans goes through the whole spiritual journey. What I want to focus on, though, you're talking about how transitioning really opened up spirituality for you, gave you an access that you may not have felt before. For me, it was the better parts of faith that gradually opened me up. There's a difference between religion in its tribal forms and faith. I will not claim a label. Okay, so I'm not going to say I'm Christian, I'm not going to say I'm nudist Buddhist. I am what I am. But one of the tropes I pick up in How to Not Know Your Trans and Trans Quality, where I talk a lot about religion and its effects, is that Pam had long been an LGBTQIA plus advocate. I mean, from all the time I had known her. And it got to a point where, you know, I said to her, look, I finally understand where you're coming from and where the LGBTQIA plus community is coming from, but it's not my story. And what led me to that point was contemplative, meditative prayer. I didn't know that was what was going on. And two books really helped me. I'm very ratiocinative. Obviously, I read voraciously. One book was called Torn by Justin Lee, who is a gay Christian and has wrestled from a very young age with the huge divide in evangelicalism regarding um, homosexual orientation, identity, quote, as they say, lifestyle. The other book was called Falling Upward by Richard Rohr. He's a Franciscan priest, though most of your ratty Catholics are going to say he's apostate, he's hideous, he's blah, blah, blah. He's a contemplative. And the book Falling Upward really helped me tear down a fortress. The basic premise of that book is that the first half of our lives, we spend building an identity, as it were a vessel. In my case, that was a fortress. Second half of our lives, if we avail ourselves of it, we find out what the hell's in that container that I built for myself. And there's a freedom that comes with that. So as I found out, Regina, what was in my container, I was able to grasp, oh my God, I'm trans. It fits. I tried on all sorts of things, folks. But I'm trans. Oh my God, Eureka, it fits. And since that time, I don't need a container. What you get is me all over the place.
Yeah.
And so for me, call it spirituality, contemplation, faith. I no longer have a big white dude with beard and sandals in a robe watching over me. For me, the beloved is the beloved. And I see them everywhere I go, but most especially in myself. And I'm not going to put it in a box and give you a creed and identify, because that's religion and that divides.
Right.
And if you want to yell at me and say that I'm latitudinarian and I'm like mush and blah, 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 it's like, okay, whatever rips your zipper, baby. I don't care. What you think about me doesn't define me.
Yeah, it's not about what we just are. Loving awareness, head back to the melting pot and call it all what you want. I put my own labels on it, and you can call it what you want. And what a great experience, what a great journey. And the journey continues, and there's nothing to look. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It just is. And what a great deal. Well, we are getting close here. I don't want to run over today. Oh, gosh. Go back to the chat room. I gave up religion about age 17, but hold a higher level of open-mindedness, acceptance because of my two lives, which I feel is more spiritual-minded, maybe. Casey is so right on anymore these days. Yeah. I am so grateful that she has become my friend. Questions. What do you feel helped keep a marriage together through transition? Since my marriage failed in transition, I'll let you answer that.
Your marriage did fail in transition. I think number one, the way we define marriage and union has been in a straitjacket for centuries. And Elizabeth Gilbert talks about it in the book Committed. But to answer this question in the 2 minutes we have left, I'll go back to what I said before. And that is, I love Pam. And Pam, I hope I've always given her the freedom to be whom she is and who she needs to be, who she needs to be. So the best advice I can give anyone is to not defend yourself if you are the transitioner, if you are the person experiencing your partner transitioning. Again, don't blame yourself. Don't defend yourself. You're going to attack only because you're hurt and you're going through something that is horrible. And you've got to give yourself space. And you, the transitioner, have to give that loved one space to be who they are and not fear what the ultimate outcome would be. Even if that means you, quote, lose them. You're not losing them. You're giving them the freedom to be, and your relationship to be what it's going to be in this time and place. To do anything else is to enslave yourself in them. And it hurts. I get it. It hurts. I don't have a bad answer, but don't be afraid about the what ifs. Tell what if to go crap itself.
The yesterday, I was asked a question about something, but anyway, I responded with we were talking about a child transitioning, and they asked me for advice, and my advice is, to love them. That what was there on the inside is still there, and you love that already. There's no reason to change. We can adapt to the changes on the outside, but we have to love what's on the inside. It's kind of like comparing our insides to someone else's outsides. Don't let the outside rule what we, the way we see them. It's all about the inner person, so or if we had a good relationship, we love what's on the inside. What the outside presents as is not really very important. We're humans. We are human beings above all else. We need to love that fact about the person, the personality, the person. It's all on the inside. How we present, fuck that. Except it's not important. The part that's important is that soul that we have, and we've all been here before. We're all here now, and we'll be here again in the future. And so there you have it. That's the important stuff, and the things that we need to keep in mind. And I think that's the great place to end. I just have really enjoyed our show today, Bethany. Thank you so much for coming on. Maybe we can schedule you again for few months down
Please,
the road, or
please feel free, and all on the show, feel free to contact me. Um, uh, and my books are available in print, audio, ebook. You can get them at Amazon. You can get them from my website. I still have yet to put Transquality up on the website, and my latest novel, Gods of Rome, which is a real romp. It's kind of nutty, but it's
oh,
good.
how long ago did you write that one?
Um, as my afterword says, it's taken 30 plus years to write Gods of Rome and almost as many rewrites. It started as the proverbial first novel, but it never felt right to me. It never felt true. And it finally came through. So I'll let the afterword talk about it. I also have a blog post about it that explains that. It's certainly the latest of my novels to be released. It ain't by any stretch of the imagination the latest of my novels, but it is a hoot. And I hope people laugh. I hope they get joy out of it. And I hope they see it's okay for the world to be a little crazy.
Cool. Well,
thank you, showgirl. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And well, I'm going to take you out and say goodbye to everybody. And thank you so much for being here. And we will talk again soon. I would like to get you on my chat once a month or once a week or some kind of list. And because I'm always catching what you're writing, and I'm just going to start writing you with my comments rather than put them out there for the world. Sometimes I don't like to do that. I know
you, boo.
Huh?
Thank you, Kate. I said you do you, boo. Thank you, Gracie, Casey, and Christy. Your affirmation and your words of wisdom grow me. Same with you, Gracie, and all who put in the chat. Okay, take me off because I'll just go off on another tangent, Regina.
All right. Bye-bye, Bethany. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Okay, kids. Thank you all so much for being here today. We've made our Sunday debut memorable, I believe. And so hopefully we'll see y'all again on Wednesday. I think I'll be here Wednesday at our normal time. Not sure when we'll be back here on Sundays, but let me know what y'all think. And take care. Oh my gosh, it's time to do the outro. And thank you all so much for a lovely, lovely Sunday morning. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.